Thank you so much, Pastor. It's so good to be here with you all. And I want to say a big thank you to Impact Church, to the HEAL Collaborative, to Amgen, and the whole team involved in this 4-part lung cancer series. Such a great series, and I'm really glad to be with you here online from Ottawa, Canada today. I'm part of this really great speakers team. So thank you all for being here for this strategic session on clinical trials. Clinical trials are a terrific way for people affected by lung cancer to gain access to the best treatments, which could potentially give us years of high quality life. If you or someone you love is affected by lung cancer, please ask your healthcare team if there's a clinical trial that might be a good fit. And we know it takes a whole team to tackle lung cancer. In the United States alone, over 600 people per day are diagnosed with lung cancer. Survivors, doctors, patients, nurses, caregivers, pastors, people who've lost loved ones, supporters, surgeons, medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, physiotherapists, supporters, advocates, administrators, orderlies, technicians, family members, friends, IT people, funders, researchers, and everyone in social oncology, the whole team. Thank you for the good work that you're doing for people affected by lung cancer. So I'm part of, as was mentioned, I'm part of Impact Church. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but when I was 17, I started to read the Bible and encountered Jesus in a way that just blew me away. And I've been attending church and following Jesus ever since. And when I was in Atlanta in the spring of 2019 for the AACR Scientist Survivor Program, I was part of a group of advocates that Chris Draft invited to come to Impact Church on the Sunday morning. And I want to give a big shout out to Chris Draft, who's an international health advocate and NFL legend. He's a strong supporter of lung cancer advocates and a terrific strategizer. And he genuinely cares about people. He's such an asset and a gifted team builder. So he's going to speak later about the White Ribbon Project, which is not just a great conversation starter, but it's also helping people who are involved in the lung cancer community know that we're not alone and helping more become lung cancer advocates. So a bit more about myself. As I look back over my life, there are episodes of advocacy scattered all through. I'm an engineering mind against all odds kind of person whose mother changed traffic patterns. So I wonder, is it in the DNA? I did my undergrad degree in engineering at McGill, which is kind of like an Ivy League school up here in Canada. And I learned that my brain is very analytical, structured, dynamic, and adaptable. I also understood that that I have a tendency to lean into a challenge instead of bowing my head to them. And I'm not afraid of challenges, no matter how impossible they may seem. I'll face them with persistence, creativity, and hard work. So when I think about the work that we do in lung cancer today, I'm very aware of the challenges, but instead of bowing my head or backing away, I lean into the challenges. So as I said, my mom was a community activist who changed traffic patterns in our neighborhood. She was a strategic thinker who invested countless hours talking to people and organizing them into teams with block captains. Together they fought City Hall and they won. At a young age, I learned the importance of teamwork, that together we can fight City Hall. I played a lot of sports and served on many different student councils, teams, and committees. And like many of you, I know the power of teams to work together to achieve greater things than we'd imagined. I spent most of my career building leadership teams and mentoring leaders on university campuses. I got to experience some breakthrough collaborative moments where the teams really got it, where they were genuinely caring for each other as a team, working synergistically together as a team, accomplishing much more than they would have if they'd been working separately alongside each other. And since I've been involved in lung cancer advocacy, I've sought effective teams to join. And where I haven't found them, I've worked to form them. So way back in 2013, this is where my lung cancer story personally begins. I had a cold with a lingering cough following it. And initially I wasn't concerned about that because there was a lot of that going around in the schoolyard where my kids were at school. But after a couple of weeks, it started getting worse instead of getting better. So I went to the doctor, and it took a while to be diagnosed because lung cancer can be hard to find, especially in someone who does not fit the stereotypical profile. So when I was finally diagnosed, we were shocked that it had spread already, so that I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer back in 2013. And that's when my kids were only 6, 10, and 12. And now I'm so happy to tell you that they're all taller than me and almost 9 years older. They're 15, 19, and 21. And we are so grateful that I'm alive all this time. And we know the reason why is, well, it's the grace of God, and it's also research. Lung cancer research matters. More treatments are approved and accessible, and life expectancy has dramatically increased because research is a game changer. So when I was first diagnosed, they did biomarker testing to know precisely what kind of lung cancer it was so that my healthcare team could match the appropriate treatments. And at that time, the only 2 options available were chemotherapy and a new targeted therapy. So after those 2, I had progression again, and I thought there was nothing else for me except that a clinical trial had become available. And so in 2015, I started on a clinical trial for a new targeted therapy. And without that clinical trial or a miracle, I would have died in 2015 when my kids were still young. When it started, we had no idea how well it would work. We didn't know if it would work at all. But hope is an act of defiance. So we chose hope. And that year for Mother's Day, I asked for an apple tree to be planted in our backyard as a symbol of hope. Now you may know that apple trees take a few years to bear fruit. We had no idea if I would live long enough to see it bear fruit. But we're so grateful that I did. And in more than 7 years since then, there have been so many apples and so much gratitude. When I first started the clinical trial, I was coughing constantly. But this clinical trial started to work right away. Within a few days, I was getting better. And the treatment was so effective that the scans actually showed no sign of cancer. And during that 2-year time before I did eventually experience progression again, researchers developed more treatment options, and each one was better than the one before. So for me, these 9 years have been a roller coaster ride of treatments and progression. And all kinds of 4 different targeted therapies, 2 different kinds of chemo, radiation. But I'm alive and well. I'm engaged with family, friends, and the community. And my story is one of deep gratitude and hope. Treatments were available and effective every time I needed one, often just in the nick of time. Urgency matters, and holding on to hope really matters because we never know what research is going to bring us. The next treatment might be just around the corner. But clinical trials, and this is really an important point, clinical trials are not just about research, not just for the future. Clinical trials can also give access to the best treatment options today and mean years of life, high quality life for people affected by the lung cancer. So please, if you're affected by lung cancer or your loved one is, ask the healthcare team if there might be a trial for you or your loved one. And if they seem uninterested in helping you find a good clinical trial, please look for someone who will. This could be the difference between life and death, and you matter. Time matters. Urgency matters. Because clinical trials can give us time to make memories and celebrate milestones. And you can have a long, vibrant run. I would love to say so much more about clinical trials. I will say, make a list of your questions and reiterate that you can stop anytime you like. My personal experience, like so many other people, was to be very well supported and cared for by my clinical trials team, who I'm still connected with. And now I spend a lot of my time advocating for good for people affected by lung cancer. And most of this work is in clinical trials, because a clinical trial saved my life. I know firsthand the difference that research makes. And if you are interested, you don't need to be a doctor or have a medical degree to be involved in the research process. Patients and caregivers and survivors are welcome to represent and speak into the clinical trial process, right from the first ideas all the way through to the sharing of the results. So I would love to connect with you. Please reach out anytime. You can connect with me through Impact Church, my blog at www.throughthevalley.ca. I'm active on social media, Jill Hamer Wilson. And you can also connect via email, which is canadalung@gmail.com. canadalung@gmail.com. Reach out anytime. Thank you so much.